Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Doctorate. Welcome. I've started a little journey, a little personal journey that I hope will benefit you, and that is exploring canned diets. So I've had a lot of requests for can. I've had a lot of requests for getting away from kibble. What are some alternatives? We've reviewed some fresh food companies. A lot of it seems to be more marketing than nutrition, and so canned may be an option that you are considering. And so I have been looking into some different things. One of the ones that I hear a lot in my clinic is Beneful, both the dry, but they also do make canned, and they make like this Medley pack, and that's what I see most of my clients, I guess, jumping into is these little Medley packs where they come with different flavors and it's fun to do and all that. Now I have my own feelings on these Medley packs and rotating foods and proteins and things like that, and I have a whole video dedicated to allergies where I discuss that, so you can check that out. But today we are going to be evaluating the Beneful's Medley, the chicken, the lamb, and the beef. So for those of you that are new, my name is Dr. Ray. I'm a small animal general practitioner. Practice 5 days a week, 6 days a week in the clinic, so I am a practicing vet. And I just do, now I just do small animals. I used to do more than that, but now I just primarily do dogs and cats. And on this channel, we have I hope you guys feel like we have a really good nurturing, fostering environment where we can answer questions and talk about different things that pertain to pet health. And a lot of them surround around nutrition. So a lot of people these days, it's a new hot topic. They have a lot of questions. There's a lot of information out there that has sparked questions, and I don't really like the direction that it's going in, honestly. That's why I started this channel. The questions that are being sparked, I think, are not useful. They are surrounded by making people feel bad, making them feel like if they don't feed the right thing, they're going to kill their animal, that they're responsible for their animal's ailments by what they feed. And I want to get away from that, because that's really not true, right? Food is a big, important part. It's a big, important part of your pet's life that you play an active role in. But we don't need to stress over it. There are some very simple things, and nutrition is, for the most part, very simple. And it isn't something that I want you guys to stress over. So I think by clearing up some of the marketing misconceptions that are put out there on purpose to confuse you, because that helps them differentiate, them from other competitors. I think that if we eliminate that and we stick to the facts and we stick to the basics, I think it'll become a lot clearer. So, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And I hope that you will like and subscribe and join this community, because that's really what we want to foster here is kindness, understanding, non-judgmental, asking questions, getting answers, intelligent discussion and things like that. So we're going to jump into Beneful. We're not going to go to the website. Normally I will go to the website and find this information, but the Purina website did not have the information that we needed on there. They had the guaranteed analysis, which we are not going to be using. We're going to be using the dry matter analysis, so I did have to email them, and they did provide the information. You will find that is something that we do a lot on this channel, because we're going to be using the dry matter basis to evaluate this food on nutrition alone on the pet food scoring system. It's a system that focuses on some key nutrient ingredients that if these bare bones don't make it, if it doesn't make the cut based on this like limited 10-point scale, there's no point into jumping into some of the higher level things. And so I'm not saying that some of those things don't matter, like the quality of ingredients, the ingredients themselves, the processing, things like that. I'm not saying that those don't matter. I'm saying there's no point in even considering the diet if it doesn't meet just the basic nutrient, requirements of life. And actually we're going a little bit beyond that, to be quite honest, because AFCO focuses on just the bare bones nutrient requirements of life. AFCO cares only that the food's not going to kill your pet, but that's not what we're about here. You guys came to this channel mostly because you want to do what's best. And so we're actually using data that is published in Small Animal Clinical Nutrition textbooks, linked down below. And this is for optimal nutrition for various life stages. And so you'll see in the corner of this chart the adult dog optimal nutrition ranges, as you will find in that textbook. If you want to reference them, I simply took that information and compiled them into a nice, easy, contrasty chart for us to use across all the videos, so that you can evaluate any food. So you'll see we use the pet food scoring system on kibble, we use it on fresh food, we use it on canned food. It can be semi-moist. anything you can use the pet food scoring system, because we're using numbers on a dry matter basis. That is not the guaranteed analysis, okay? It is not the guaranteed analysis. You want to get the dry matter basis numbers. Some websites have it, some don't. And so that is going to be a job if you're going to be serious about nutrition and learning about nutrition. That's something that you're going to have to get from the company. There are conversions that you can do. If you're not familiar with those, I have a foundationals playlist video. I do foundationals playlist full of videos that I suggest you review. So yeah, let's get started with the Beneful. They have the chicken, the lamb, and the beef. You'll see them there. Important thing to note is these are really tiny cans, okay? So anytime you're feeding a can diet, it's really important that you're paying attention to the size of the can and the calories of the can, because as you will see across the board, these foods only have about 70 calories per can. And so if you have, let's say, a 20-pound dog, they need on average, depending on their activity level, 360 to 530 calories. You can see how many of these little cans you're going to have to feed. So if you're intending for this to be an entire daily ration for your pet, you're going to have to feed quite a few cans, which can be expensive. I have absolutely gotten into trouble with clients where pets are losing weight, and they're worried their pet's losing weight. And when we're going through, we always start at the basics, the basic history, and we find out what they're feeding, and they're like, well, they eat a can of the Beneful in the morning and a can at night. Well, these are only 74 calories. There's only 140 calories you're feeding your dog per day. That's not even enough for a cat. And so you do have to be careful with calories, and so that's why I included calories as the first thing on this list. When I looked through their feeding guide, it was all over the place. It was not easy to understand, the feeding guide. Their range was huge, and so I did not give them points for that. And I do find that is the case with cans. The ranges are really large. Yes, it would be impossible to probably quarter or eighth this can to give you an exact measurement. But that is one of the things you have to consider when you're feeding can. It may be difficult to really tailor down and get those calories exactly where you want them to be. They can be useful for weight loss because they're mostly water, and your pet will feel fuller. Just like a lot of the weight loss trends in people is drink a glass of water before you eat your dinner. It's kind of the same concept. But if your pet's suffering with weight loss, I know a lot of people, if their pets aren't eating well, they jump straight to can. It can help, but also keep that in mind. They have to eat a lot more volume because a lot of what is in can is water and not nutrition. Okay, and so that's the same concept with the ingredient list, right? The way that the ingredient lists are listed is based on water weight, okay? And so just like we're talking about, these cans, the nutrition is further down on the list. It's the same thing with the ingredient list. You will see that the number one ingredient in a lot of these are going to be water-heavy items, or even water or some sort of a broth. Because that's the heaviest, okay? It doesn't mean that it's the most. It doesn't mean that it's the most nutritious thing. It's the heaviest, okay? And so a lot of these cans are predominantly water weight. All these were formulated. None of them had feeding trials. Beneful is part of the big Purina, mega company there, and they've got their high-end brands, and then they've kind of diversified into this kind of mid-range brand, and then of course they've got some of their lower ones as well. So they did not feeding trial these diets. They did, however, pay attention to make sure that every single one of these diets was the correct life stage, and I do think that actually gets them a little bit. Well, it does get them. It gets them a point, because even some of these high bougie companies haven't paid enough attention to even tailor down their food to the correct life stage. And so they did get a point for that. And they also got a point because none of these diets were grain-free and none of them were raw. And so they do get a point for that as far as the ingredient list goes. We're not going to go much further into that. Other than those things, I think those are biggies that people need to know, need to be watching for. And there are some significant health things that surround those two. So I do give a point for each of that. So that brings all these diets up to a 3. As we go into the nutrient analysis, this is where we will start to differentiate, and you will see the differences here. So as we're going through, you will see that my favorite of the 3 is going to be the chicken variety. It did score a 7 because they were able to actually keep the calcium and phosphorus levels down to a really reasonable, manageable level. If you look over to the right of the screen and you see that adult dog profile, they are at the top end, but within the range for the adult dog. which is quite impressive for kind of a budget brand, because there are definitely some big name, big money brands out there that have not been able to achieve this. And so I was really happy to see that there is an option out there for you guys that are maybe searching for lower mineral food. You understand the importance of lower mineral foods for our pets, or maybe you have a senior pet and you're looking for a lower mineral food to feed them as they transition into their senior years. But there you go. I think the chicken might be an option for you. Fat was at 17.1%. It is a little bit on the higher end of the range, but still within the range. So happy about that. Fiber at 1%, just needs to be less than 5. So I was happy with that with the chicken. The only thing they had a little bit, a lot bit out of the range was the protein, up at 54.7%. And that's kind of a philosophy, Purina. They do a lot of research, and they do tend to be, if you're looking across the diets, Science Diet and some of these other companies, they tend to do a more low to a moderate protein. That's what their research shows, their philosophy. Purina feels, kind of the opposite. They tend to deal with higher proteins. They feel like the body can process higher proteins, and that there are benefits to doing that. My opinion on that is I understand both sides. And if you live in the ivory tower and it's a perfect world and everybody's checking blood work, and the minute your pet crosses into kidney disease or some other conditions where protein is sensitive, and you switch it, then that's great. But in reality and in practice, I know that that's not the case. I may be lucky if I see a dog every year. I'm absolutely lucky if I see that dog every year and we do blood work. But every year is 7 years, right? And so a lot can happen in that year. The majority of animals will see, maybe every 3 years when the rabies is due. And so if you're on one of those high protein diets, the onus is on you. The onus is on the owner to make sure that you're bringing them in and catching it. So although protein is not going too weird. So although high protein is not going to make your pet have kidney disease, it definitely can exacerbate or compound the issue if you don't know exactly when it happens. So I tend to be a little bit more conservative and more careful. And so if we know that the optimal nutrition range, dogs do perform optimally based on the research between 15 and 30, I would rather err on that side of caution, because they do perform well in those levels. So I don't think that the benefit of adding that extra protein warrants the risk there. That's my personal opinion. However, the chicken still scored pretty good at a 7. And it doesn't mean, like I said, that your pet is going to have kidney disease. There are plenty of pets that never develop kidney disease, and this wouldn't be an issue. It's just if you're that one person and your pet, does, then, it's 100% true for you. So I just like to throw that out there. Now, the lamb only scored a 6, and that's because they weren't able to bring the calcium levels down on the lamb down into the reference range. It wasn't horribly off, but it was off, so I can't give them the point there. So the lamb only scored a 6. And then the beef came in at the absolute lowest of the trio, and so they were unable to get the calcium, the phosphorus, or the protein down into the reference range, which is odd because it actually has the lowest protein numbers of all of them, and usually as the protein goes up, it's harder and harder and harder to control the minerals, and it is a little bit odd that this would have the lowest protein but the highest mineral. So that means whatever beef source they're using, wherever they're sourcing that beef, it may have a quality issue, but it may be harder for them to process and bring those minerals down, meaning there might be some extemporaneous things finding their way into their meat source. So it may be meat that still has some bone attached to it, or some tissue and stuff like that that's contributing to the mineral content, hooves, etc. And so of the 3, I think of the clear choice for me would be the chicken. I said there really isn't any reason to rotate these, especially if the other 2 options are suboptimal in nutrition. The chicken provides a complete nutrient amino acid profile. We've talked about that on this channel. There isn't any reason to rotate ingredients to provide a more complete amino acid profile, because chicken, lamb, and beef all contain all the amino acids that are essential. So that's kind of a fallacy. It's more, this whole Medley pack is more for the humans. It's eye candy for us. It has nothing to do with nutrition for your pet. And so it may be something that you enjoy doing, but maybe have, like a heart conversation with yourself. Do you enjoy it enough to feed, 2 out of 3 days a week, maybe a suboptimal nutritional product? To me, it's a no-brainer. I wouldn't do it. Plus, you're rotating ingredients, and as your dog ages, they may not be able to handle that. It can lead to pancreatitis. Again, we talked about food sensitivity in the food allergy videos. You can check that out. So for me, I would just stick with the chicken, and I would be very careful in looking at the calories, because if you have a big dog, you are feeding a lot of cans. Like literally, you're gonna have to buy cases of this, you know, to keep up with your pet's daily requirements. Now, do you want to use it as a topper? I get that. I talked about that in my Blue Buffalo video on can. Yeah, you can use this as a topper. It's a little tiny can. It needs to be less than 10% of your pet's daily allotment. So if you have a pet that has a 700 calorie daily allotment and you want to add 1 can as a topper, 10%, boom, right there, that would be easy. Otherwise, you guys got to do the math and figure that out. So I wanted to bring this to you today. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the Purina Beneful review, the little cans. And yeah, I hope you guys will like and subscribe and hang out if you like these. If you have other canned options you want to share with your friends, please bring them to my attention so that we can all learn together. If you notice, some of my videos have a little members first tag on it. We do have a membership. If you would like to join and support the channel, that would be great. And they get access to the videos earlier, and they get to comment, and we get to interact kind of like pre-game before the video goes live for everybody else. So you can check that out as well.